Okay, we're on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Rolling with the Punches. Today, we are going to be coming at you live. We're going to be introducing our new show next week. Every Monday, we will have Facebook Live with questions and answers. And right now, let's pass the mic to Dave Contreras and Dave Trujillo, the dynamic duo.
Hey, Dave, welcome again to the show. I'm looking forward to starting next week. The Three Musketeers are going to go on, and we're going to be talking about fights that happened over the weekend. We're going to be taking questions from the fans, and we're going to be talking about future fights also. We're really excited. I know over this weekend we saw some pretty good fights, but you saw the best fight. You saw one of our little proteges that we've been following for a while now was on our show, Raul Lizarraga, fighting at 168. And I think you have some really good news of what happened over the weekend. I think it was in Rosarito or Tijuana, right?
Yeah, it was in Tijuana, and it was Hibaro Promotions. That's Raul Hibaro, and they our local fighter here from Temecula Boxing, Raul Lizarraga, with Jesse Moreno as his head coach, with whom we interviewed here a couple of weeks back. He ended up getting his pro debut Saturday night, which was January 30th. And he came out, and within 17 seconds, he was able to take the guy out. So he had a successful debut, which we are all proud of him. And we look forward to possibly doing another interview with him, hopefully shortly, to see how that went in his eyes.
So tell us, how did he take him out? Was it a right hook, left hook? Was it an uppercut, body shot? What was it? I didn't get a chance to see the fight.
You know, it was a barrage of punches, so I couldn't see if the guy actually went all the way down or not, but it was a technical knockout is what he got.
Awesome. That is great. And Jaime, I think you were talking earlier about the Caleb and Truax fight. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I just basically, I saw, Plant, he looked good, but to be honest with you, if you really take a look at that whole fight, he was fighting someone that was way past their prime. Of course, he had to look good, and he did. But I saw a lot of weaknesses. Also, I saw him actually get hit quite a bit, where if someone with a powerful punch would change the course of that fight real quick. I mean, I'm looking at Canelo popping him with those openings that he allowed himself, and it's basically damaging. Hey, Dave, I'm gonna. I don't know if you can hear Can you hear her in the background?
No, we're fine. We'll continue.
Okay.
Yeah. And Dave, what did you think about the fight? Did you watch it?
I was highly anticipating this fight. You know, the two Calebs coming out and going at it, and I believe Caleb Truax was actually he was the A side of the fighter, I guess, and Caleb Plant was actually the underdog, according to the way I was understanding this. And they're aging before they even get into the fight, because Caleb Truax came in and he looked like an aged fighter. He looked like he was on his way out, just like Jaime said. Caleb Plant wasn't impressive at all. He dominated the fight. He won every single round. But unfortunately for the fans and for us that know boxing, he wasn't impressive at all. I mean, he left a lot of openings. Like you said, looks like his experience was just weak. He should have been able to notice where Truax was, and he should have turned it on about 7th or 8th round, and he should have got a technical knockout, because he wasn't getting hurt by Truax. And that's what these boxers need to learn how to do. They need to learn how to finish the show, in a trainer from a trainer standpoint, and also a fan standpoint. Let's not take this 12 rounds, gentlemen. Let's close the show earlier.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw, I liked the jabs, and actually I was reading on Boxing News, I think I was reading it earlier today, where Truax actually said, you know what, I've never been hit with such a, not a powerful, but fast and unique jab, because you remember when the fight, when they were fighting, Caleb was hitting him with 2 or 3 jabs at one time, pap, 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 and then come back, pap, pap, pap. But one of the things that Truax said, he says, it didn't hurt. yeah, they look good. They look great. But when he fights Canelo, if he fights Canelo, Canelo's going to hurt him because he didn't have the power behind him. And it was really funny because after the fight, I saw when they were removing his gloves, and I saw that, he had hurt I think it was his right hand. And then when they interviewed him, he said that he thought that he had broken his hand during the fight on the fourth round. And maybe that's the reason why he wasn't hitting him as hard. But one of the things that I was telling Jaime earlier, Dave, is that Caleb Plant really hasn't fought anybody. I mean, when you see his record and you see Canelo's record, if that's who he's going to fight next, I would personally like to see Caleb Plant fight David Benavidez, and the winner of that fight Canelo. And I think I know what my personal opinion is, who will win that. And I think the big draw would be Canelo, because I think he'll beat Caleb Plant. David Benavidez will beat Plant and have Benavidez and Canelo fight in September. What do you guys think?
I would love to see the Charlo and Benavidez go at it before that.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
We need that fight to happen. I think before Benavidez and Canelo would be, to me, the fight that everybody wants to see. But at the same time, I would like them to go through all the other competition, so that way there's nothing said at the end of whoever wins that fight.
But you know what, Jaime? Charlo fights at 160. He's a champ at 160.
Yeah, he would
have to go up. Yeah, and I think before he goes up, I think Benavidez will hurt him, because Benavidez, he's a strong 160, and I know Charlo's tall and he's strong, but going up 8 pounds and fighting a former world champ, you don't think it'd be better like if he fought Rosado, or maybe Danny Jacobs, before he got the big fight with Benavidez? What do you think, Dave?
Well, let's talk about Caleb Plant first.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get that discussion out of the way. Should he at this point be in the ring with Canelo? Absolutely not. I agree that he should fight some other opponents first before he steps up into that square circle with Canelo. That being said, Canelo is just way too seasoned for this guy. And like you said, David, earlier, he gets hit with one of Canelo's punches, he's going bye-bye. And I guarantee you Canelo is going to knock him out.
Yeah.
So that being said, okay, let's turn around. Let's take a look at the fight with Charlo and Benavidez. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
This is transpiring over the weekend from what I understand.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is the real deal, and we're going to be able to see it happen, because I believe that's going to be an exciting fight.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we'll see who the winner of that one is, and it could be up in the air on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Charlo is actually he's coming up, and he's got a lot. He could gain some weight. He could put a few pounds on. He could step up in weight. Okay, that being said, who should face Canelo next? Canelo. There's a lot of word out in the fan base that Canelo has stepped up and got the WBC turned around and made a special bout for him or whatnot. And they kind of seemed like he was avoiding the heavy competition down there at the 160 division, 168 division, or what have you. But he was kind of sidestepping, or they were moving him in that direction. And the chatter out there is what everybody truly wants to see is everybody wants to see Canelo beat everybody. Nobody's worried about a loss. Everybody's worried about, the fighters nowadays want a paper champion. They want to deal with the paper. They want to make sure they look good on paper. They're perfect. Mayweather created that. All right. But legacies are built with losses. You fight the best. If you lose, you come back and you win again. If you can, then you prove you're the best because you came back or what have you. Everybody's tired of seeing everybody just kind of work their way to the top and kind of cherry picking. Right now, things are changing. These younger brothers are coming up, man, and they're boxing and they're calling out everybody. And you know what? It's time for everybody to step down. And I say step down because they're already up at the top. They need to step down and they need to get in the mix with these young bloods that are coming up that are challenging. And, the Berlangas and, and whatnot. And, the Benavidez's and even the Charlo brothers, they need to come down, and if they want to be the best, they need to come down and they need to beat them.
Well, you know what? One of the things that they announced 2 weeks ago, Dave, they announced the Canelo versus, and I'm going to kill the name, Yildirim, Yildirim, and that's a mandatory. I think it's for the WBC. It's a mandatory fight. I'm not sure. I think it's for the WBC or the WBA, but it's a mandatory. And the guy that he's fighting, believe it or not, you know who's training him? Your buddy, Joel Diaz.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yes, he's training him. People are saying that this is an easy fight for Canelo. Being in the ring myself, I was never a professional boxer or an amateur boxer, just being with friends in the ring. I think all three of us have been in the ring with several people in the past as kids and grown-ups or whatever. We know that there's no such thing as an easy fight. Right, Jaime? I mean, there's no such thing as it's an easy fight. He's going to knock him out. No, because you know what? Everybody has a puncher's chance to knock somebody out. And I think that this isn't going to be an easy fight. But one of the things is if he beats Yildirim, then his next fight in May, I think it's going to be the weekend of Cinco de Mayo, then he's going to fight Billy Joel Sanders. And that's going to be an interesting fight. Now, if he beats Billy Joel Sanders, which I think he will, but I think personally that it's going to be a marathon. He's going to be chasing him around the ring like when he fought Mayweather, but he's going to catch him, cut off the ring, catch him with a body shot. If he beats him, then in September, that's when he's supposed to fight Plant or whoever is ready. But he'll probably be Plant because he wants to unify the belts. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, business-wise, I mean, that's smart for him. Mm-hmm. Of course, at the end of the day, yeah, you're a fighter, but at the end of the day, you're a businessman as well. You're putting your life on the line. You're putting your head, your mind, and all that on the line. And I understand about the cherry picking, but if you really think about it, he's fighting quality fighters. Now, if they're as good as him, I think the Sanders fight's going to be a lot better than what people are thinking. Mm-hmm. He's a great fighter. He's a great fighter, and Canelo has a problem with speed. And so I'm sure he's made a lot of adjustments since, I know he has. He's made a lot of great defense adjustments after that fight with Mayweather. I think he became a 10 times better fighter because of that fight. So it's gonna be good. I think he's going to overcome all these fights. I think the big fight, to be honest with you, at the end of the day, when the fat lady sings, it's going to be him and Benavidez.
Yes.
At the end of the year, if not early next year.
Dave, what do you think about that?
Well, I like the Canelo Sanders fight. Billy Joe Sanders is very well experienced in that ring, and he's got a good seasoning too. Now we're talking about finally a seasoned veteran being able to step in the ring with another seasoned veteran.
Yeah.
The outcome of it, I believe Canelo will still come out on top. Right now, I don't believe anybody could take Canelo out of that spot. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the only issue is Canelo needs to still, step down and beat everybody else to hold and to go back up and to be the main man in that spot. Mm-hmm. And to be, the champion that has not sidestepped anybody and that has answered the questions to all of the public out here in the boxing world.
Yeah. One of the things I like about Canelo, he was very smart. By him leaving Golden Boy and becoming his own promoter, I mean, Golden Boy had him fighting maybe once or twice a year. And then last year, I think he didn't fight at all, right? Till the very last when he gave up whatever happened between the contract, he won his own. Now he's promoting. He has his own promotional company. I mean, he fought twice in 2020 once he became his own promoter. And now we're looking at him this year fighting 3 to 4 times. So, I mean, that just shows you that, these promotional companies fighting with each other is doing harm to boxing instead of being a blessing. Canelo's a perfect example of that. Now that he's promoting himself, he's basically going to Matchroom saying, hey, I'll fight so-and-so under your banner, but you're going to pay me a certain amount of money. And he's going to have to go to PBC to fight Caleb Plant, and he's going to stay with Matchroom to fight these next 2 fighters. So yeah, and then he's gonna have to go back to PBC to fight David Benavides. So I mean, that's to show you that these guys, their hands are tied when they're with a promoter that doesn't get along with everybody else. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I think that the promoters for too long have held these boxers captive, and they held the fans captive as well, by not allowing them to fight more than 2 to 3 times a year. I mean, 3 times a year is sufficient, but when you're a champ, I think that you need to constantly be battling for your belt. I think when you're on top, you should have 3 or 4 fights a year. You want to be the best?
Yes.
All right, let's be the best. I don't want to see you, in 2020, and then not see you, one time in 2021, and then maybe 2 times in 2023. I mean, this isn't Rocky. I mean, this is real life, and you got young blood coming up, and they are challenging. They are challenging. They're stepping up to the plate, and it's sad because by the time they come up, they're fighting these guys when they're already too old. And it's what is the old saying? He fought an old man right when he was in his prime. Yeah. Or he's dodging him or whatever. But you're right. The quantity of the fights have to go up for these champions. The promoters need to drop their egos because we're sick of their egos, and they need to think about the fans and the fighters, mainly the fighters. Yes, first, but the fans too, because we're the ones that pay the wages, man. We're the ones buying the pay-per-view. We're the ones, buying the tickets to go and see these events. So yeah, the promoters need to definitely turn around, and they need to check themselves, and they need to reinvent themselves, and get out there and get their guys busy. Yeah.
What do you think, Jaime?
I think talking about like what Dave just mentioned, I'm thinking Errol Spence and Crawford and that whole bunch right there.
Yes, perfect example.
That right there. I mean, we're losing quality time, and if it ever happens, it's not going to be the same as if it was today. If it was last year. But that's a perfect example right there. I mean, he's right, and I think maybe the future of boxing is going to be exactly everybody promoting their own deal, so that way, there's no middleman controlling the whole situation. And to be honest with you, I think it's going that way. I think there's going to be a change in boxing, and I think it might be for the best.
Yeah. You know who started all that? I think it was Tito Trinidad, the one that started it. And then Floyd Mayweather came, and then he fought against, well, he didn't fight, but he won his contract against Top Rank. And then he started promoting himself. And then Mikey Garcia, remember, he stopped fighting for 2 years, and now Mikey has his own promotional company, and now we see Canelo doing it, and Canelo's being very successful. So I agree with you. I foresee that happening in boxing, and I think it should happen, because once that happens, we're going to see fights like we used to in the 80s. These guys would fight 2 or 3 times a year, and we were still not satisfied as fans, right?
Yeah, right. I think when you're talking about Tito Trinidad, I think he took that blueprint from Oscar De La Hoya, though, because Oscar was promoting himself towards the tail end of his career, with Top Rank. And then he kind of just blended in into just going into straight promotion. But he's the one that I think that kind of figured it out. That's why I think, he transitioned into that promotional business pretty easy. He already knew what he was doing. You have to have a name to do that, and he did. And I think at that time, it was all about him, Mosley, and Trinidad. There was a great little batch of fighters back then, and I think they all kind of piggybacked off each other and knew how to make money. You got to remember when, Oscar, when he fought Mayweather wasn't filling out arenas. After that fight with Oscar is when he started filling out arenas. Mosley wasn't making not much. Not compared to what Oscar was making. A lot of these fighters became well known and respected after Oscar, regardless if you like him or not as a fighter. It is what it is. Just go back and look at it, and look at the attendance and the money that they were making prior to the De La Hoya fights, and you'll see who actually made those fighters, in the higher digits of money when it came to their purses. But it's a new time.
But another fighter that came up to my mind when he turned around, he left his promotion company as well, and that was Timothy Desert Storm Bradley. And he was able to control the end of his career and made a lot more money doing so, and was able to retire a lot better, after that last Manny Pacquiao fight back in 2016. So, these guys have done it, and, they control it themselves. When somebody calls them out, it's up to them if they want to do it. It's no longer, hey, my management company's telling me not to, or they're holding me back because I'm contracted with them and they want me to fight this fighter, that fighter, and this fighter here, building up my record or what have you. Now we're starting to get down to the nitty gritty of what we should have all been seeing in the first place before all these big promoters got involved, controlling.
Yeah. So guys, today I was watching one of the things that I do when I work out in my gym. I'm working out, and believe it or not, I have my earphones on, and I'm watching Ali Sekbeks, different other interviewers interviewing boxers. And I guess last night, Ryan Garcia couldn't sleep. So for about an hour and a half, he was on live with Ali Sekbek and like 5 other individuals that were asking him questions. And one of the things that he mentioned, and I've been hearing a lot of rumors about him fighting Manny Pacquiao. But now, after hearing that and watching some of the interviews today from other promoters, other people talking, I think it just might happen maybe in May. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's great. I think Manny Pacquiao should, he's proven to everybody that he doesn't age. Everybody thinks he's going to age. We're waiting for that day for him to age. And he's fighting tougher and tougher opponents. This is a man that's not sidestepping people. He's actually getting in there with the Keith Thurmans of the world. Look at what was it, Bam Bam? He got in there with him too. He's not afraid to go in there with anybody at his age. So he's really defied that, and he's really answered that. He's had the answer to the questions of all these people about his age. The man just is incredible. Yes, I think he should start fighting the younger guys too. If he's going to stay in the game, keep fighting them 2-3 times a year until you're done.
They're saying that if they do fight, they're going to fight at 140. So Manny has to come down from 147 to 140, and Ryan Garcia from 135 to 140. What do you think, Jaime?
I think that's gonna benefit Ryan at the end. It's easier to put on the weight than come down, because I know Manny's a lot heavier than that right now. He's walking around a lot heavier. The other thing, I look at it as a Mr. Miyagi and Danielson. You got the professor though that's gonna come in with probably some of the most ring experience in the last 2 decades.
Yes.
And so it's not going to be an easy fight for Ryan. Can he, well, I'll tell you this, he can't stand in front of Manny. If Manny gets a hold of him and he stands in front of Manny, it's not going to be a good night for him. I hope he's smart enough to figure that out. He's on his way up, and he is at least calling people out. He's not sidestepping nobody. That's one thing I got to respect about him. But at the same time, I think he has enough knowledge and enough common sense to know that he's fighting the legend of the last 10, 20 years here. Right there sitting in the shotgun seat with Mayweather. It's going to be a tough fight for him. But I think, we've spoke before, if he does lose, who better than lose to somebody like a Manny Pacquiao, and he can still come back after that and just destroy everything in sight. After that, he's going to learn from it either way, from the win or from the loss. Ryan Garcia will be a better fighter after that anyway.
Jaime, I'm not a history buff, but one thing I do know, one thing I've learned, Dave, throughout the years, is that history always repeats itself. And if you look back when Canelo was 22 years old, who was his promoter? Oscar de la Hoya. And who did he fight? he fought Mayweather, right? At 22 years old. And look at that didn't, like you said, Jaime, I agree with you. That didn't hurt Canelo. That gave him what? It gave him a lot of exposure. It gave him a lot of experience. So now this kid, this young man, Ryan Garcia, fighting Manny Pacquiao, history repeats itself. I personally don't believe he's going to win, but I think he'll go unanimous decision. I think it'll be a unanimous decision, just like the Canelo fight. Manny's too fast, too experienced, too fast for him, but he has nothing to lose. Losing to Manny Pacquiao, one loss that Canelo has, that doesn't hurt him. It made him more popular. It made him better. And I think it's history repeating itself. Oscar La Hoya is promoting this fight. They're going to make a lot of money. Manny Pacquiao, I think he has over 6 million followers, I think either on Instagram or Twitter. And this young man, Ryan Garcia, has over 8 million followers, plus Manny has a country. They're saying that Manny in about 2 or 3 years is going to run for president of the Philippines. So could you imagine a pay-per-view fight with a country? And how many Filipinos do we have in America? How many Mexicans do we have in America? How many Mexican Americans that are going to want to see Ryan Garcia and this young man fight? I think it's going to be a huge moneymaker and great experience.
Dave, think about this. I can't think of it right now, but when have you ever seen a fight that's promoted by somebody that has fought the main event of your own promotion? So you have De La Hoya that fought Pacquiao, and now years later, he's promoting the same guy he fought with his younger fighter. Yeah. I mean that's how amazing Pacquiao is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can't take it from him. I mean, he's amazing.
Here's one thing about Pacquiao, and I want to say this because I have some good experience in the Philippines. When we had our company, You Pick the Champ. I'll tell you what, I love the Philippines. The Filipino people are amazing. They're just always so welcoming and loving and whatnot. And I love the Philippines. I mean, they're just an amazing group of people. That being said, when I was there and I was dealing with our company and the people, I went out and I started talking to people. And there is not one Filipino that does not know who Manny Pacquiao is. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, on the other end, I also found out that whatever fight Manny Pacquiao was fighting, they actually didn't even know who he was fighting. They had to think about it, but, God bless them. They're all good people, and he's got a huge backing behind him. But, it's going to be incredible to see Ryan Garcia, if this does happen, to come up, because you're right. He has absolutely nothing to lose, but everything to gain unless he gets knocked out. If he could go 12 rounds with Manny Pacquiao, just like Mikey Garcia went with Errol Spence, and went the whole 12 rounds. He stepped up in weight, went the whole 12 rounds. Guess what? It's only going to make him better. Errol Spence couldn't knock out Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is probably going to come back and challenge that again. I mean, that's just the way the Garcia family is. Okay, but so for now, Ryan Garcia, that being said, he only has everything to win because he's going to learn that ring experience with the master. And being in there with the master, you have nothing to lose but everything to gain. Just like Canelo stepping in there with Mayweather, when he turned around and walked away from that fight, my gosh, I mean, the man stays in the pocket and can't be hit. He learned from just that one fight, and his stock is ridiculous. He's at the top.
Could you imagine Canelo fighting Mayweather now with the experience? How he left this other Caleb Smith's arms. Could you imagine him right now fighting Mayweather and just hitting those arms, hitting those shoulders? He'll tear him apart. I mean, right now. What do you think, Jaime? I mean, if Canelo, with the experience, the power that he has at 168, outstanding.
Right now, it would be a different outcome, of course. Age is going to take place. Yeah. Very few people in the business are like your Bernard Hopkins, and that just could fight well into their late 40s and so forth.
There's a reason why they call him the alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but that's what I think. I think that he's not one of those fighters. you could tell he had a lot of problems with his hands. He was always,
Yeah.
He found a way to win though. I mean, he was just naturally,
Very good.
gifted. I mean, you can't take that away if you like him or not, the style. As Mexican and Mexican fans, we're not really used to seeing that style. But at the end of the day, you can't take it away. I mean, it's about the W's at the end of the 12 rounds, and he found a way to find them. He retired undefeated, but those who are going to be honest with themselves, they know he had a loss there and with Castillo, the first fight. But who cares? I mean,
Oscar.
Yeah.
We can all go back and forth and go round and round, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do that, Dave. I think both you guys, we really need to maybe bring up some of these fights and go on Facebook Live is let's go round for round and see how these outcomes of these fights. I would love to do the Castillo Mayweather fight. I would like to do the Trinidad De La Hoya fight. I would like to see the Trinidad Mayweather fight. There was a lot of controversy, and controversy. There's a reason for it. I mean, it depends what you see and how you see it.
Yep.
And
let's resurrect it. We'll resurrect it.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey guys, well listen, we've been on for over 40 minutes. I think it's time to say goodbye to all our what was that? Remember that old Mickey Mouse? Now it's time to say goodbye to all our something friends. MIC, remember that? This new generation doesn't know what I'm talking about, but us three, we know. And it's funny, yesterday when we were talking about going live on Facebook starting next week, one of the things that we mentioned is between all three of us, we have over 170 years of life experience. 170 years. So with that said, I think that our live show is going to be very interesting because of the knowledge that we bring, ring knowledge, life knowledge, and boxing knowledge to our show. And Dave, do you have any last words? And then Jaime will hear, I'll say my last words, and then Jaime will end it with you once again making the great announcement. Dave, any last words?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at Raul as he's coming out. I'll see if I get another interview with him soon. This way we could get his experience in the ring in his first debut. And again, don't forget, rolling with the punches in the House of Pain, Southern California. Always have to promote, especially my boys back in the 303. Love you guys.
And if anybody's looking to sponsor a fighter, please talk to Dave at the House of Pain. Anybody's looking at sponsoring an event or sponsoring a gym, House of Pain, that's where you need to go. Jaime, why don't you end it and your last words?
Hey, I just want to thank everybody out there. The Rolling with the Punches is growing week by week. We want it to continue that way. We want to get into the thousands, of course. Takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but that's our goal. We just thank everybody out there. And for those fight fans that enjoy this channel, if you would do us a favor and, hit an invite to 5 to 10 friends, that would be great. And if you guys have any topics that you would love for us to cover, please email. We're going to give an email at the end of the show next week. And we'll just continue going. We just appreciate all the support. And we just got to keep this sport alive because if not, the new generation, and it started, with MMA, not taking anything away from MMA. I love MMA as well. But, it did take some fan base from the sport, but I think it's growing. I think these big fights need to happen. And we need to make these fights happen, but we need to figure out a way for these promotional companies not to basically just, be a block, be a wall in between the fight fans and the fighters. They deserve to make the money, and we deserve to see the fights. And with that, peace out.
On behalf of Rolling with the Punches, peace out, and God bless you, and be safe.